Welcome to another episode of the so-called Oreos podcast, the podcast where we discuss all the awkwardness, hardship, and hilarity that comes along with society labeling you white on the inside and black on the outside, also known as an Oreo. I'm one of your co-hosts, Amari Pollard, here with
Kia Swinton
and Janae Price.
Gang, gang.
Gang.
So, on to our discussion. Let's talk about religion and spirituality and all the good stuff. I mean, just to start off, we just wanted to give like a light history of religion, particularly within the Black community. According to the Washington Post, like slaveholders claimed the Bible was on their side and citing passages that commanded servants to obey, and African Americans have reclaimed the Bible and its messages of liberation. And I mean, I think anyone, if you've grown up in the Black church, you can see that kind of in action itself. And I think, you know, religion does play a big part in the Black community, although I think safe to say not every Black person, you can't assume every Black person is religious or make assumptions about their identity, their spiritual identity. So we just want to have a conversation about this. I mean, we've never really touched on this before, and I know we've all had like mixed feelings about it because it is a big part of, I think, generally being Black and being in America. So I'm excited for us to have this conversation. Where do we want to start, guys?
Yeah, I'm excited too. Yeah, I think we all have like kind of like different relationships with religion, which I'm excited for everyone to hear. And just to preference, like these are all our opinions. We're obviously going to do like some stats, some fact-based, but just because religion is so like wide and also so big in the Black community, we just thought we could touch on it and see like how you guys are also feeling about religion. So I just wanted to give some like stats. Feel free to step in if you guys want to like say a stat or anything. These are just the ones that when I was doing research, I thought kind of like summarize the relationship between Black people and religion. And so this is a report from Pew Research, and this was from February 2021. So it's very new. And so one of the stats was like when segregation was the law of the land, Black churches and later mosques served as important spaces for racial solidarity and civic activity, and faith was more broadly a source of like hope and inspiration during like civil rights, like kind of leading into the church for that. And so 60% of Black adults who go to religious services say they attend religious services at places where almost everyone is Black. So it's not really like a diverse place. Like Black people typically like to go to Black churches. The survey of more than 8,600 Black adults who are age 18 and older across the US finds that young Black adults are less religious and less engaged in Black churches than older generations. So Black millennials and Gen Z are less likely to rely on prayer, less likely to have grown up in the Black church, and less likely to say like religion is an important part of their life. Fewer attend religious services, and those who do attend are less likely to go to like a predominantly Black church. So basically, the older generations are more involved in the church. The Gen Z millennial are kind of like stepping away from religious things, and when they do go, it tends to be a little more diverse versus like an all Black church. 1 in 5 Americans, which is 21%, are not affiliated with any religion and instead identify as atheist, agnostic, or nothing in particular. And this phenomenon is increasing by generation. So roughly 3 in 10 Black Gen Zers, which is 28%, and millennials, which is 33%, in the survey are religiously unaffiliated, compared with just 11% of baby boomers and 5% of those in the silent generation. So again, Gen Z, it actually seems like millennial is like the largest group that is not affiliated with anyone besides like Gen Z is a close second, but I think that's interesting because millennials is our generation. And lastly, Black Americans are still more religious than the American public as a whole when they did the survey. So even though Black people are leaving the church, not as like more for the younger generation, Black people are still like the most religious group in like America. So those are just some facts.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like, what do we feel comfortable with disclosing about like our like religious beliefs, I guess. I mean, I'm fine with saying I'm technically agnostic, which is just someone, you know, if I had to put a label on it. And it's a person who just like claims neither faith nor disbelief in God. And just like someone doesn't who doesn't believe, like they're not going to say they know stuff about the existence of God. Like I'm not going to speak on that because I don't know. So that's kind of where I am. But I've always kind of been a floater. So
Do you want to talk about how you're raised? Like, is that how you were raised, or is it like you switched when you were older?
yeah, it was more like I was raised in the church, like going to church every Sunday. We went to a non-denominational church from when I was a kid. I've only known one pastor my whole life. It was a very, you know, white church, but I really did love going to that church. But I think like as I got older, I was just like less interested in it. And I also played sports. So I was like, guys, I have practice, like can't go to church. But I think it was this, okay, this story is gonna sound stupid. So guys, don't make fun of me. But when I was younger, I really, really used to, and I might have already said this on this podcast, I really, really used to believe in Santa Claus. Like, I was fighting people on the bus over the existence of Santa Claus until I was 12, I am sad to say. And when I found out that this man was not real, like, my whole family will vouch, like, I was a little bit destroyed. I had never believed in something so much as Santa Claus. And so I'm like, this is a white man. You better know, like that was a lot of faith in this old white dude. And like after that, oddly, I just like this is ridiculous, but seriously, like I understood like why my parents really tried to keep the idea of Santa Claus alive for me because they wanted like me to like be as innocent as long as possible or whatever. But like after that, I just really couldn't believe in anything. So like I don't think I've ever believed in anything as full-heartedly since that moment. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but I'm like, people really had me convinced that this fictional character was real. Like, why am I putting so much faith into things that like I don't know? So, you know, that's kind of just like
That's really interesting though. That's a really interesting like connection between like faith and like Santa Claus. Oh.
and it was really my fault. I ruined Santa for myself because I was nosy and I wanted to see what gifts I was getting. So I was like going through the closet and then one of the gifts wasn't under the tree. So I was like, Mom, where's the gift? And she goes in her closet. She's like, Santa must have just like forgotten, like put it in my closet. And I was like, he wouldn't do that. He's not real. He's not
Oh
real.
my God. I don't even know how I realized that Santa wasn't real. I feel like someone might have just casually slipped it and I was like, oh, I had a 50% chance that he wasn't real. I think it's just very casual. I don't really remember. But I remember really thinking because there was like red fuzz from like someone's sweater that was attached to like my kitchen table. And I was like, it's Santa's fuzz. I like had this belief that it was Santa. Oh God. Janae, do you want to go next? Talk about I know Janae's a little I'll let Janae speak.
Yeah. So, um, I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian.
Gang gang.
Gang, Christian gang. My family belongs to the African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church. Long name, mouthful, I know. Basically, my family is kind of like your traditional Southern family where everyone's always gone to church. Other than, I think, my mom, because I know she started, it's kind of weird with my parents where I know my dad really went to church when he was young. My grandparents really went to church. They were heavily involved. My mom, she didn't go to church when she was young, but then started to go to church when she was like in her 20s when my parents like got married and moved to the suburbs. Um when my mom when my parents got together, they kind of stopped going to church for a while. And then we started going to church very heavily when I was in like my early teens, like when I was like 12, 13. We started going to church regularly and kind of just like never stopped. My mom then became a pastor and now she has her own church. She is a pastor of the Harriet Tubman AME Zion Church in Albany. So I'm guessing that out of everyone on this call, I probably have like the most religious upbringing. I personally believe in God. I believe that there's a higher power, but I do not like the institution of the church. I think it's patriarchal. I think it's really behind the times. I completely acknowledge that the church, specifically the Black church, has done amazing things for the Black community. And I think that it's very, very important. And I would love to see it, stay alive and flourish because of all the things that it's done. But I think the church has so much work to do. And I think that the church just hasn't. I feel like I'm going pretty far in things that we already decided to talk about, but I just feel like the church needs to bend more and, you know, catch up with the times. But besides that, I'm a Christian. I believe in God. There you go.
No, I think that's good. And we can touch on it a little more about like our personal issues with what we feel like that's kind of between us and religion. Amari, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, I've been to the church that Janae's mom spearheads, and it's a beautiful church. Also, like, has so much history
Yeah.
in that community. And I think, like, even like going there, because we went, I think when was it? I think it was Christmas one year or something.
And that's not the church my mom's at anymore. My mom's
right.
So my mom was the pastor of a church in Ithaca. And that church had like the Underground Railroad underneath it. There were Lincoln letters, like just all of this history. Alpha Phi Alpha was started there. And now she's at the Harriet Tubman Church in Albany, which is like connected to Harriet Tubman's home. And like Harriet Tubman actually went to that church. Like, so there's just so much history in the AME Zion Church, as long as it like the AME Zion Church was also like one of the first Black churches too. So it's just a lot of history, and it's a really beautiful thing. And it's sad that it's kind of like falling apart because people just don't go to church the way they used to. So yeah.
And I think, like, for me, at least with like my relationship, I'm actually pretty, not, I wouldn't say the word is jealous, but I am like very much in awe of people who have an exceptional amount of faith in God and like this higher source of power. And I wish I could get there. Like, I like actively wish I could get to that point, but I just like, I try and I just like don't know what it is. And maybe that's just something like I need to work on within myself and like explore that more. But I really do admire people who have that amount of faith and would love. I think life, I do actually think like how I feel about life and my existence would be better if I did have more of like a faith or a spiritual connection, because I feel like without that, I'm just kind of like, y'all, we're just here and there's really no point to any of this shit, and like we're all just gonna die. And like,
I think that's the point of religion though. Like, it's the point to like give it like feel like there's a bigger purpose. Or, like a bigger reasoning, even with like, I don't want to say just Greek mythology, but that's the one we know a lot about in the West. Just like making meaning of like the seasons and like the myth between like Persephone and Hades, and like why it's so dark now, like even that type of thing, because I think it's like human nature to kind of want to believe in more. And I think religion has great like intentions, but I think humans are so flawed that they kind of ruin everything, like is how I feel like.
Yeah. And it's so funny because that's basically what faith and free will are about. It's like the idea that, ooh, I don't want to get preachy, but it's basically the idea that God put us on the earth and said, like, humans, do what y'all want to do. Like, I created you. I want you guys to have a full and happy life. But humans mess it up every single damn time. People always talk about, like, if God was real, why is cancer here? Why did he take away that baby? It's because humans made all this dumb shit and put all this crap in our food and this bullshit in our air so we can make more money. And now people have cancer. Like, that was humans' free will.
That's true.
But
I didn't think
anyway,
about that actually.
any freaking way, I really do respect the skepticism because I'm also skeptical. But I just personally feel like this world is too beautiful and our bodies are too intricate and everything is too intricate. It's like there's a plan with everything.
Oh
There's
yeah.
like a grid. And I'm like, this can't just be a coincidence. It can. I refuse. So
Right. I think, and I think sometimes too, like and I don't know, I don't think like obviously not everyone like who's religious like may necessarily believe in like the formation of like heaven and hell and all that stuff.
Of course.
To me, I think also when I think of a higher source of power, like yeah, like how like none of this makes sense, but it's also like very like strategic and like there like so there's a lot going on, but I totally do believe that like your spirit as a human like does actively live on after you die. I don't know in what form, I don't know what happens, but I do believe
ghosts.
We're energy. Like
we're
we're
energy.
literally made of like this body makes no sense. Like how are we 70% water?
You ever just like hold your fingers close to somebody and you just feel their fucking energy? Like, bro, that's not just random. That's not on accident. There's stuff out there. There are ghosts. There are phantoms.
I think that's very interesting because you said you were like, I don't know. I feel like it's always like people like also pit like beliefs against each other when it's all related.
It's all related.
But
Even the
humans are related.
religions.
Humans are obsessed with labels though, so like we have to put
That's
everything
true.
into like one neat box. Like it can't all be like connected.
I will say that like
sorry, I'm going off. Here's
No,
Janae's hippie ass belief about all of the religions. And this is why I generally just don't really like religion that much, because I think that they're all connected. I think just like with music, just like with language, they're like, I don't know who did this shit, but they were basically like, oh, this people seems like they would be more geared to like Buddhism. So that's what we gonna preach over here. These people seem like they would be more geared to like Judaism. But I think just like language, it's all one form of communication. It's all the same shit, just a different way of saying it. Like, there is absolutely no way that we got all these stories in Buddhism that have this, that are like the same story in Christianity. And why we sitting over here saying like one's better than the other? It don't make no damn sense.
Because that's the human flaw. And
humans
it's crazy.
Fucked it up.
It's crazy that most wars are fought over religion. Like it's crazy that something that's supposed to ground us. And I'll give I guess my little background of my religion. So like Janae, my family's from the South, so you know typically people are religious down there. And I remember going to church every week when I was at my old house because the church was very close, and I was always like, why are my parents not going to church? I just think they didn't want to. They're still religious though, but my grandma would take us. We'd go to Sunday school, and I wouldn't say I was like raised in the like. I wasn't like the type of person that like couldn't do Halloween because the church or whatever, but we would go like pretty often. Then when I moved out here, I didn't really go as much, kind of fell off. But I still like would try to like keep my faith. And I don't really even know where like it really changed, because I think like after college I just got busy, and like my grandma would always be like, did you find a church? And like, no, I think she stopped asking me because the answer is always no. But like my dad like always like prays at night and like prays over food, but he doesn't go like all the time. But he's also like interested in other religions, like learning about them, which I always appreciated. And I always appreciated like my grandmother being like more liberal than like the average 82-year-old Black woman of like not kind of like always taking with the church things when it comes to like homosexuality and stuff like that. I always appreciated that because I think it's hard to like not just think that way when you've gone to the church so long and you're older. And now I don't even know what I believe in, to be honest, which is partially why I wanted to do this episode, because I've been really struggling with faith in general, just because I'm like, things just, if they were real, like why are some things happening? And I can go into manifesting like later on the episode, but I think like, I don't know, Amari said something that really just clicked with me one day. And she was like, Janae's gonna hate us for this, but she was just like, I don't think God likes Black people. And I don't know why that resonated with me so much, but it really did. Because I'm just like, if you look at the history, it's not adding up. And even like the current day, it's not adding up. And that's just my belief. I know people are going to come for me, but I just feel like I resonated with that. And maybe it's just the tough time right now, but it's got me, that comment got me thinking, is all I'm going to say. So I know Janae wants to say something.
So I don't know if it's because I'm an optimist. I don't know if it's because I grew up in a very Christian household. I don't know. I don't know. Because sometimes I do feel like it's draining as a Black person. Last week, another Black man was killed. And then we scroll through and we're just like slapped in the face with these messages over and over again. And it's to the point where I can't speak for y'all, but I'm numb. Like,
I don't know. Yeah, I'm numb too.
I'm numb. I saw it and I was just like, um, but I still think through all of that. Now, people might come for me for this, but I think that if there's a chosen people, because they always say in the Bible that they're like chosen people. And I don't know the stories, I don't know the parables, but I just kind of feel like Black people are it. I don't know. Once
You
again,
think Black people are the chosen people?
Is that why we're
yes.
being sacrificed?
Because I'm not.
No,
I need you to explain that.
Let me talk. Because through all of the things that we have been through, time and time again, we produce beautiful, amazing things. We are a strong and resilient people who always find a way. And not only that, we are kind and we are loving. I have never met a Black person I didn't know that wouldn't help me, that wouldn't hold my hand, that wouldn't just give me a hand. There's a he seemed homeless on my block, but he might not be homeless because sometimes they be pump faking you. But anyway, he sits in a computer chair, and every day you walk by him and he'll just like, be safe, have a good day. This man hardly has a pot to piss in, yet it's just be like, be safe, have a good day. Garbage men come through picking up garbage. He'll help pick up garbage with them. He's not even asking for anything. And I feel like throughout history, you see so many Black people that are in these shitty, terrible situations, but just somehow find a way.
Do you think religion is a way to make sense of that though? Because I think like and I saw a tweet about this too. It was like, God always gives its toughest situation to its strongest soldiers. But it's like, okay, well, I don't want to be a tough soldier. I don't want to have the constant like terrible life, the constant seeing Black people get killed every damn day. And I think people like, it's hard for people who aren't Black to understand this, but I feel like every day of my life there is a message, no matter how great I want the days, there is a message that your life is simply going to be harder because typically your gender, your race, but mostly your race and both combined. And I'm talking about when you see the news about not just Black people dying, I'm talking about when you see the news about the unemployment rate and what percentage of that is Black women. When you see the news about investing and how 1% of the money goes to Black women. I'm saying every day it's a reminder that your life is harder because of situations that you can't control. And I just think that sometimes maybe we get wrapped up in religion and try to make sense out of nonsense, when really I just don't think people need to suffer, and I don't think there needs to be a meaning around suffering, which is again maybe a radical decision, but I think we're kind of blindly saying like, oh yeah, we're tough, we're strong. And what do you get from being tough and strong? Really, what do you get? Because if I'm thinking white people are the chosen people because there's no karma. People can talk about karma all they want, but where's the karma? We're not seeing the karma. Where's the karma for white people? Literally, what is the karma? And I guess the karma, when I think about this question, is the karma is like, okay, maybe at the end of the day, these people like don't really like themselves. Maybe they have a hard time sleeping at night. Maybe they will not go to heaven. I don't know, but it's just not enough to justify the things that are happening. It's just my opinion.
I can get behind
that's
that.
a lot.
No, it's not. I mean, your thoughts are just so beyond valid, and trust me, they're thoughts that I've had before as well. But for whatever reason, once again, maybe I'm brainwashed, I've been like indoctrinated. I just like refuse to believe that like certain people just aren't, they're gonna get their comeuppance one day, and one day Black people are gonna be on top. And that's it, because we've been on bottom for so long. That's just me, y'all.
Janae,
I know you guys can
Amari's
all you
face.
want.
No, I think you're right, Janae. I think your belief is very common. that there has to be again, making sense out of nonsense, there has to be a reason why Black people have gone through hell and back 850 times over the past how many years we were on Earth. But I'm also wondering, like, when does that only come for certain Black people? Because how many of us in our ancestors have gone through stuff? Like, what is the end game for them? I don't know if maybe there's a better heaven for them, but I also just don't know if life is worth being so much in pain that I can't really imagine anything being worth the pain and suffering of Black people on this.
Thanks so much for tuning into this week's episode. You can talk to us on all social media at So-Called Oreos, and you can email us at socalledoreos@gmail.com with any questions or feedback. You can listen to us anywhere you get podcasts, and we would love if you could rate, subscribe, and leave a review. Until next time, bye.
Bye.